Oh, there we go.
All right.
Hello.
Welcome, everyone, to Real Life Lounge. This is episode 3
Yeah.
already. And today we are going to talk about self-love, and not in the self-love in the way of like taking a bath and
Yeah.
exercising, and more really about the mindset piece of self-love.
Yeah. So today's Valentine's Day. So we thought, let's talk a little bit about love.
Yeah.
As I thought about this topic, it's really a precious topic to us in our household. And so we have 2 young girls. And if I could gift my girls any one thing in life, it would probably be a healthy self-esteem. And as I thought about that more, it's not a gift. It's not a either have it or you don't. It's something that you cultivate. It's something that you can build upon. And I think that's what we're going to kind of talk about today, of how we keep this top of mind and how we help cultivate this in our lives.
Yeah. And I think this is a super important topic. I think this generation is dealing with a lot more when it comes to pressures and how to navigate their own self-worth and self-belief and self-love, between social media, which we didn't grow up with, and then the pandemic in the last few years. And there's just a lot of mental health struggles. And I was thinking about this on my walk today on, how do we help these kids overcome these challenges and all these pressures of, the stress in the world and the pressure of keeping up and competing on social media. And the best answer that I could come up with was to really help them ground in really deep self-love and self-worth, so that no matter what those outside pressures are, they're able to stay in tune with themselves and their highest selves, and love themselves and make it through any challenge, whether that's bullying or anything going on around them.
It's really like building your own coat of armor, right? To preserve yourself, is if you can deeply love yourself. And we're not talking about this in like some superficial way of like, you think about like a kid being really braggadocious or something and really like bragging. It's not like that. It's like, can you deeply love yourself? And so much of that ends up going to like self-talk. Just the other day, like last week or something, we saw one of our daughters like catch a glimpse of herself in a mirror in a kitchen or something. And she stopped. She's like, man, I look good. And Heidi and I like secretly celebrated that. Like, if you have a kid who just is like, yeah, I'm awesome. Like that's so cool to see. So let's talk a little bit about like, where does this come up for adults, or maybe your story, or
Yeah. So I will preface too, I was also thinking about this, that we'll share our stories and we'll share our tips and ideas, but we're in no way professionals. And that was one of the suggestions I have is, I don't ever be afraid if you have a kid that's struggling to seek help for them. Getting therapy and professional help is definitely needed at certain points. So even though we have some suggestions, every kid, every situation is different. So I just wanted to put that out there.
For sure.
Self-love has been super important to me if we're talking about our own journeys. I, grew up as this very accomplished, perfectionist, overachieving kid. And then like
all the blue ribbons.
Yeah.
All the things.
We don't even need to go down that rabbit hole. But then like, 8-9 years ago now, when we started our personal development journey, I was introduced to this concept of self-love, and a book that was super pivotal for me was Gifts of Imperfection by Brene Brown. And I think so much of self-talk and self-love is having that awareness. And I definitely did not have that. When I first started on this journey, I thought like, yeah, I've been this super accomplished kid. I've done all these great things. Like, of course I love myself. Like, what is there not to love? Like, I've done really great things. But then I just didn't have this self-awareness around what my subconscious and what those thoughts really were and how awful they were. And there was a couple of years where I was like really unfolding a lot of those wounds and really assessing the way I talked to myself that were really hard and really dark, because I realized how hard I was on myself and how mean I actually was. Even though I had all these external accolades, it definitely was this like shield, this coat of armor to try to protect and this inner child that really wanted to just be loved for who she was. But I put up all this stuff in order to seek that validation and love.
I think it's a super common thing too. So many of us talk so poorly to ourselves that if we would take that same language and put it onto someone else, we would be ashamed of how we were speaking to that person, yet we would do it to ourselves. So that is the thing we're trying to combat, get past, heal, all the things that if it's years and years, just a simple story. And you can hear this if you start listening for it, you can hear it in your everyday life. Let's take something as simple as like someone being late for a meeting. And their way to apologize is by saying, "Oh, I'm such an idiot. I thought the meeting was at 9:30. No, you're not such an idiot. Don't call yourself an idiot. Would you call me an idiot if I was late for your meeting? Like, no. So just those, like, you can pick up on it all the time with the way people talk about and to themselves. And it's a problem. Like, we need to get around it.
Yeah. And that was a really big wake up call for me on my journey was, oh my gosh, if I'm talking to myself this way, and so much of our children's behavior and the way they talk to themselves is how we show up. And it's not, I'll share a very personal part about my story. My parents love and support me very, very much, but I have a dad who's very much a perfectionist. And no matter what he does, like he built our kids this amazing bunk bed set. And he immediately, like when you tell him how great it is, and no matter what it is, he immediately starts pointing out all the things that are wrong with it and how it's not that great and how he didn't do a good job. And so for me as a kid watching that, I very much internalized, like watching him, it had nothing to do with what he was saying to me. I watched him belittle everything he did and how it was never good enough for him. So I started thinking like on a very subconscious level, well, if no matter what he does, it's not good enough. What about me? Is anything I do ever going to be good enough for him to love me for who I am? And so it was this aha moment of like, oh my gosh, I have to figure out my own internal dialogue and figure out how to love and treat myself with kindness so that my children can model that behavior. Because even if I tell them that I love them no matter what, and it has nothing to do with what they accomplish, if they're watching me tear myself down and tear my body down, guess what? They're going to internalize that and think similar things about themselves.
Yeah. What we do is more important than what we say in so many cases with our kids. So what are some things we can do? So one of the things that we do with our girls is we practice affirmations. Mm-hmm. And in their journals that they write in every day, we are having them practice giving themselves compliments. Mm-hmm. Writing out, I am strong, I am brave, I am exactly who I'm supposed to be at my time. Like, there's been some amazing things that have come out of these girls' minds when it comes to affirming their own self-worth. And if you practice it every day, like we are having them do, it becomes part of their inner dialogue, which is then going to build that self-esteem and self-confidence that really leads to a more fruitful life.
Yeah. So I was trying to like think of all these great like takeaway nuggets, because I'm always well, like, what are the things I can put into action? And the practicing the affirmations is super powerful. It helps them build that awareness too. And then when you catch them saying things like, I'm a bad kid, or I'm so stupid, then you can go back and refer to the things that they're writing in their affirmation journal and have more of that open dialogue. So it's something that you talk about and is something that there's awareness around as a family. But outside of that, I really think so much of it comes down to us as the parents and working on our own self-love and our own self-worth. And that's a long, hard journey. Most of us have decades of not treating ourselves well, but if you can just start working on that journey yourself, if you haven't read Gifts of Imperfection, if you tend to struggle with that, it's a great place to start. That was and I went back and read it like 6 years later, and it was really cool to feel my own progress. Because the things that resonated with me 8 years ago didn't resonate with me a couple years ago. So
I'll give you one exercise you can do around the family dinner table. Everybody go around and say something that you love about yourself. And parents, let me know how awkward you feel doing that. If you feel awkward, then you're not doing it enough. So have your kids practice saying what they love about themselves. It's a great, great thing.
Awesome. If you have any other thoughts or tips on self-love, we'd love to hear them. And if you're enjoying these Real Life Lounge chats, please like, share, subscribe, comment. We appreciate all of your support, and definitely let us know if there's any real topics that you'd like us to have some real talk around.
We want to hear from you. Tell us what you want us to talk about. Thanks.